Welcome back to my hometown. Thanks for taking a little time to join me today. Today I would like to welcome my guest. One was born and raised in Tennessee and has been in Texas just 3 years. And the other was born in California and has lived in Bowie for the past 18 years. Just one short year ago, they opened the doors to Rise Therapy to help our community. So please welcome my guest today, Miss Morgan Nedley and Taylor Davis. Thank y'all so much for joining me today. We are in Rise Physical Therapy. Just what we talked about, a year old.
Yes.
An exciting adventure. But before we get into Rise and how everything came about and you working together, we want to get to know a little bit about you. Okay? So Morgan, we'll start with you. From Tennessee.
Yes.
What brought you to Texas? Because and this is my hometown, but you don't live here.
Right.
You live not in Bowie, so
No.
you have to drive back and forth to work every day. Taylor, she's fortunate; she just has a few minute commute
Short
to work.
commute.
Yeah.
I can't even call it that.
So Morgan, what brought you to Texas? And tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. So grew up in Tennessee. For physical therapy school, I went out to California. And so I met my husband out there, but he's actually from Ardmore, Oklahoma. And the company that he works for, their business office was in Ardmore, Oklahoma. So we moved to Ardmore for a little bit. Then we're back to California for a residency for me. And then they were planning to move their business office, and they settled on Denton, Texas. So we ended up moving there in 2020. And we're there for his work, but we are actually wanting to move closer this direction so I don't have to drive quite as far. But no plans for that yet, just sometime in the future.
So so kind of share with everybody what your credentials are. What you went to school with. What.
Sure. So for physical therapy, you go get your undergraduate degree. Typically it's a bachelor's degree. And then after that, it's 3 years of physical therapy school where you get your doctorate. So I have a doctor of physical therapy degree, essentially. And then the residency that I went for helped me to get specialized in orthopedics. So the last little OCS after my name just means orthopedic certified specialist. We can see all the different things, but I especially love orthopedics, so it just helped me to gain more knowledge and a little bit more expertise in that area.
So what is your full name and title? Would it be doctor?
Yeah, technically, I guess it's, but nobody please don't call me that.
But to sound really fancy.
Yeah, it's technically, I guess, Dr. Morgan Nedley, PT, DPT, OCS. But I will answer to Morgan.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
fine.
So a lot of initials, a lot of things, but
Yes.
But shorten it down. You're Morgan.
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Yeah.
We call her Dr. Nedley to make fun of her.
Yes,
So.
that's like my nickname to make fun of me, but all my patients call me Morgan.
So did you go to right out of high school? Did you go to
undergrad
and then right into
Yeah.
your program and then residency and then
Yeah, I just went back to back with everything.
and then Taylor, you've been around Bowie for a long time. You
sir.
goes back to Bowie Memorial Hospital.
Yes.
So
OG.
share a little bit about got out of high school. Did you work there during high school?
I did. So my first job in high school was actually for their, the lady who did all of their employee health stuff and their quality control. I was her secretary, essentially. I maybe worked 15 hours a week, so it wasn't a whole lot. It was just their work program through the school. But that was my first job right out of high school, or right in high school. And then after high school, I had a couple different jobs, but I ended up back at Bowie Memorial after I graduated in 2015 from PTA school.
So from being there in high school, did that make you say, I want to do this? I want to.
Well, I kind of always knew I wanted to be in the healthcare profession. I actually thought I wanted to be in occupational therapy. And I quickly figured out that was not for me. I worked, before I went to PTA school, I worked at Advanced Rehab. Well, actually, it was formerly Bellmeyer when I started working there as a rehab technician. And so I got to work with physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, kind of all of it, I'm really glad that I got that job because it kind of opened my eyes to what the difference is between each discipline. And I quickly figured out that physical therapy was much more fit to me.
So what's the difference for those that may not know? What's the difference between occupational therapy and physical therapy?
So a lot of people like to cut the body in half and say physical therapy deals with the legs, occupational therapy deals with arms, but that is not accurate. We see a lot of arms, shoulders, elbows, we can do wrists. But occupational therapy, a lot of times, they deal with more activity of daily living specific things. So like if you are in the hospital, they're going to be making sure that you are not having trouble with toileting, with showering, with dressing, bathing, more things geared to that, where we're working on walking specific things and kind of lower extremity strength. And it kind of depends on what facility you're in. So like when we were at Fit and Wise, occupational therapy did do some shoulders and elbows and hands and wrists. A lot of times if it's hand specific, we refer out for occupational therapy because they have certified hand specialists that are trained in that specifically, because the hand is a very complex thing. So there is some overlap there between the two. Occupational therapists do a lot of like splinting and stuff for the arms, and they're usually a lot more creative. I am not a creative individual. They're quirky, usually a little quirky, and they just have that creative brain. So that's kind of just the difference there. Yeah.
And then so you went to school for PTA. So Morgan PT,
Yes.
Taylor PTA.
PTA,
What's
yes.
the difference?
So physical therapy now is a doctorate degree program. Physical therapist assistant is an associate's degree program. So I went it took me about 2 years to get my prerequisites. You can do it a little faster, I think, if you're a little bit more on the bar than I was. It took me about 2 years to get my prerequisites, and then the program is a 2-year program. So it's an associate's degree program, and then I ended up going back to UNT, and I got my bachelor's degree in rehab studies and business management, but that was not required for my PTA degree. But the difference between PT and PTA in the clinical setting is I cannot treat a patient until they have been evaluated and a plan of care has been set by the doctor of physical therapy. After she sets that plan of care, then I can treat, and then depending on the insurance, Medicare every 30 days or 10th visit, she has to see them to kind of assess where they're at, change goals if we need to change goals, and then other insurances it's 60 or 90 days, so it just kind of depends. I just have to treat under her licensure. So.
And then you got out of PTA school in 2015?
Yes, sir.
And went to work at
Bowie
Bowie Memorial.
Hospital.
And then how long were you there?
So I started on my temp license in June, and the hospital closed in November. That was
So just a few months later?
Yeah, it was terrifying and heartbreaking all at the same time. So after that, that's when I went back to the nursing home. I got a job there, and I was there from November until March, and realized skilled nursing was not my favorite setting. I enjoyed a lot of the staff there, but it was not my favorite. And so then I went to Fit and Wise, back to outpatient setting, and that's where I was until I came here. That's where we met.
Yeah. So I ask all these questions. You coming from Tennessee, going to California, coming
All
back
over the
all
place.
over, and you relatively stayed around. Decatur is 30 minutes away. Then how do you both meet? You meet up at Fit and Wise in Decatur?
Yes.
In Bridgeport.
In Bridgeport.
actually.
So
Yeah.
it's Bridgeport.
Yeah.
Bridgeport, yes.
It was very much a God thing.
100%.
Because when we moved here, I had a job somewhere else for another company down in Hazlitt. And I wasn't enjoying it as much. It was supposed to be transitioning to full-time, and it just really wasn't. And I was needing full-time hours. And so I was on the job hunt looking around, and someone I had worked with in Ardmore told me about a job in Bridgeport. She said, they're great, you should apply. And I wouldn't have seen it otherwise. I was looking and applying, but I hadn't seen it. So she sent me the link, and I applied. Interview went well, and I got the job. And it was just something that I was really praying about, because before I applied to that job, I had applied and interviewed for a job kind of closer to where I live, like 15 minutes away from Denton. And I didn't get it. And I was disappointed, and I was just really praying, like, God, I hope you I know you'll open the doors, but please open the doors for something like where I'm supposed to be. And so then Fit and Wise in Bridgeport all the doors opened, everything fell into place. And then I ended up taking the position of another PTA who was working the same schedule as Taylor. So we ended up having the exact same work schedule, long days together, short days together. So we were able to spend a lot of time together, and we just hit it off right off the bat.
And then how long were you both working together at?
When did you
I
start?
started in January of 2021, and you, I think
I had been there since
you've been there for a long
time. I went to Fit and Wise in March of 16. I was at Decatur originally, and then I went on maternity leave and had my daughter. And then when I came back, I went to Bridgeport because it was a much smaller, more intimate facility, which is what I liked from Bowie. So I had been there since 2016. And then I left in October of
2021.
2021?
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Wow.
2021. October of 2021, I left there.
There to do
Home health.
home health.
Yes.
So, and then you were still working there?
Yes. So I think in 2021, I hadn't been working there for very long, and she said, "Hey, I've always wanted to open a clinic." And she was like, "No pressure. You should just think about it." And I was
We kind of joked about it a few times.
okay,
and
it
then I was like,
just
no, I'm
a
serious.
joke. And then eventually she was like, "No, but seriously, you should think about it." So, and that was pretty early on, I think, because starting July or June, we started having serious conversations about it and kind of seeing what our options were and what we needed to do to make it happen and that kind of thing. So she left in October, kind of knowing that it was a transition to eventually be able to try to start this.
Prayerfully so.
Yes, hopefully.
I think there was still a lot of fear
Yeah.
and uncertainty.
So, because, I mean, home health, good
Yeah.
job.
Wonderful job.
Had a steady job at Fit and Wise in Bridgeport. To step into the unknown of opening a business in a small town,
Absolutely terrifying.
what causes that change? Because I think there's always something. Sometimes it's bad things, sometimes it's good things, but I always think there's a driving force that gives you the little boot.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, and you talking about it and knowing that transition, and what's the thing that finally goes, yeah, we'll do that. We're going to be on it.
If I'm being honest, I think I had been in prayer about it. We had both been. I had been in prayer about it even longer, just because I wanted whatever decision I made to be the one that God had in my path, and I wanted Him to be the one directing it, not my own volition making it happen. And so I think when October came, I was just going through a really rough season of change and kind of some anxiety and things, and I just remember being on my closet floor and just praying and on my knees and just being like, okay, God, like, if this is what you want me to do, I will do it, but I need you to just make it clear to me that I'm doing what you want me to do. And so I had sent in an application to the home health company, their Healing Hands Healthcare, and I would highly recommend them to anybody who needs home health. Fantastic company. And I got a call the next day, and I really was just gonna dip my toe in the water. I just wanted PRN. I was like, okay, I just want to kind of work here and there, help you out, just to see if it's something I can even do. And they called and were like, we want you full time. And I was like, I don't want full time. I want to kind of pull back a little bit. I want to be able to have this season to.
Because you were going to quit at Fit and Wise in Decatur, or
in
Bridgeport. Yeah.
I mean, really, I was going to kind of do both for a minute. And then when they were like, no, like, we could use you more, then it was like, oh, okay. And they kind of came to this agreement that I would work part-time so that I could take my daughter to and from school, which was huge to me, because if I'm going to do this, like, I wanted that time to be able to spend with her. And it was the best decision I ever made, because I'll be honest with you, it was really even hard for me. I had many prayers. I was like, God, this is really comfortable. Like, this is really nice. I'm able to spend time with my daughter, and I'm making, decent money, and I'm working for a company that truly values their employees, and they value you over all things. And, I just kept getting the response, I didn't call you to be comfortable. Like, that's not what He called us to do. And so that was my kick in the rear. And then I actually reached out to Summer Napier, who is the owner of Healing Hands Healthcare. And I kind of sat down and had coffee with her and kind of spilled to her, what was on my heart and what we were wanting to do. And she just really was like, okay, if you need anything, let's do it. If you need any help from me, let me know how to help, but I think you need to go for it. And so we did. January, we bought our entity.
So then you have that feeling.
Yeah.
So then how do you approach Morgan?
Oh, okay. So we had, let me rewind. So we had that conversation millions of times, and then when I left, we weren't around each other every day. Mm-hmm. So I think there was a season of, we were both trying to pray it over and mull it over and be like, okay, we're still researching things, gathering information, paralysis analysis, over analyzing every step. And then I think finally one day we were like, okay, we need to go have coffee. We need to sit down. Mm-hmm. And we were really good about praying through everything. I feel like that honestly is one of the big things that has been kind of always grounded us back to ground zero, as we just prayed through everything. And we just finally were like, okay, we're just going to take it one step at a time. And I went to her and she's like, yeah, I'm in, let's do this. And I was like, okay, we're doing this.
I think too, going into business with someone, it feels like I've known her a lot longer than I've known her. But at that point, I'd known her for less than a year. Mm-hmm. And so to go into business with someone who for all intents and purposes, don't know that well.
Because it's a marriage, and when you go into business together, it's a marriage.
It's so funny that you said that.
She's my other spouse.
It is a marriage, 100%.
But I think the thing that made it an easier decision for me is that by the time we decided for sure we were going to do it, we'd had so many tough conversations. Absolutely. And I've had friends I've had my whole life that I can't have tough conversations with. And finances, expectations, things that I was worried about or struggling with, things that she was worried about or struggling with. And we knew that we could bring something to the other person and they would listen and be open-minded and we could have a positive conversation about it. And I think for me, if you're going to any type of relationship, but especially a business relationship, that's really, really important. And that's something that put my mind at ease for sure.
Oh, mine too, for sure. And still, the tough conversations never end.
Yes.
It's one after the other. Yeah. But it's getting easier because we know, in a marriage, after time, it just gets easier to be like, okay, hey, this is my problem. And and it just gets easier because you're not afraid, she can't leave.
No.
Right. You're stuck. You're here.
I'm here. Exactly.
You're in.
Exactly. So, that definitely was a big one because it's terrifying.
And through the prayer and knowing what you're supposed to do, the name of the business is Rise Physical Therapy.
Yes.
Where does Rise come from?
So I was driving to work, and there's a Danny Goki song called Rise, and it was on. I listen to Air One pretty constantly.
And Danny Goki is
a Christian artist.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that song came on, and it just, and music for me, for her too, has always been kind of our it just moves us always. And so I always have Christian radio playing because, just that constant positive input keeps you rising above all of the negativity. And business owners don't, at least us, I guess I can't speak for everybody, but we don't always feel like we're doing everything right or that we're always doing exactly what we're supposed to do. We fall down, constantly. And so it's just a reminder that we just have to keep rising up, even though, we get kicked down or we do something wrong, we're going to fail. You just keep rising up. Each time you get up, you're going to be a little bit higher, And so that's kind of...
Yeah, and it's the spiritual component of Rise, as well as the physical component that applies to our patients. They come, they're hurting, they have injuries, whether it's after surgery, whatever it may be. And our goal is to always help them to rise to the occasion and help them to grow and get stronger and return to doing the things that they love to do and to meet their goals and that type of thing as well.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of purpose behind Rise.
Yeah.
So we're just, as we record this, we're just about couple weeks past your 1 year anniversary. Mm-hmm. So first year has probably a lot of successes, probably more challenges than successes, where there's probably days where you've questioned over the last year. What are we doing? Was this the right decision?
Yep.
Should we go do something else? Should we be looking for jobs? All those things are normal in us when someone opens a small business.
Yeah.
And so when you opened a year ago, did you open both full time? Because we live in a small community.
Yeah.
And it just sometimes takes a little while.
It does.
And so did you both start full time when you opened the doors?
No. So she, like she mentioned, went to home health in October. And I actually transitioned to home health as well. I believe it was March of 2022. Yes. Sorry, 2023.
Yes.
2022. And the reason we did that is because for me it would give me more flexibility. And so when we opened, I was just here 2 afternoons a week because I was doing the evaluations, and then those patients, because we didn't have a whole lot, but I could see them. And then eventually I was transitioning to being here 2 full days. And then before long, I want to say in the summer, I was here about 3 full days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then by August,
Beginning of September,
end of August, I was here full time. And then it just kept growing and growing. And by the end of September,
I was here full time.
she was here full time.
And over the summer, it was because my schedule was so
Yeah, you would
flexible.
come a
I would
couple
come in the
afternoons and that
afternoons,
kind of
and
thing.
I would come in and do admin stuff and
Insurance, calling
checking.
patients.
Yeah.
Because we were doing everything.
Because up until September, we'll start September, you're doing everything. You're
Yes.
calling, you're treating,
We're
your
the front office,
insurance,
we're the cleaning ladies,
everything.
we're the
Everything.
insurance ladies.
We are a 2-man band.
So that's still the case now. A year later, you're still a 2-woman band.
No, October we hired
yeah.
our first
Our
employee.
first front office.
Yeah. Yes, and so she transitioned in and started taking care of calling patients. We taught her insurance stuff, how to verify insurances. We still do our own billing, claims, all that stuff. But we finally had some help on that end in October. And
Yeah.
So
It's been nice to have someone to answer the phones while we're treating patients.
Yeah.
It makes us feel like we can actually
Focus.
give them our full attention.
Mhm.
as
Instead of
opposed
going
to
back
being
and forth
and-
pulled in a bunch of different directions.
Yes.
So it's been very nice.
yes.
And so is there just 3 of you?
No. And then
Yeah, when was that? February maybe of this
yeah, maybe February or
in
March.
earlier spring,
Mhm.
or late winter, whatever you want to call it. We started having a wait list probably beginning of the year,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which for both of us is stressful because when someone calls and they want to get in and they're
Yeah.
hurting, we want to get them in as soon as we
Mhm.
can.
Yes.
So it's just really hard to tell them, I'm sorry, we have a wait list, you're going to have to wait however many weeks. So
Mhm.
I think in February, or maybe early March, might have been early March, we started, the wait list just kept growing and growing and growing, and it got to where we were like about a month out. And so,
And this happens, let me just say
yes,
this too, because
and that's normal
Yes,
for
yes.
most clinics. They have a wait
They
list.
do.
But we
because
just didn't want to.
No, we didn't. We have to get, because we would be getting orders from surgeons' offices, and if they're post-op, if they've had a surgery, joint replacement, what have you, we have to get them in much sooner. So if we get orders for back pain or general weakness and stuff like that, we have to get the surgeries in first.
So the surgeries, they weren't necessarily a month out.
No.
Those
It
had
was-
to get in.
Yes.
It was
within
those
a
that
week.
maybe had back pain,
Yeah,
correct.
need some
Things-
post therapy
Yes.
just to get stronger,
General
balance,
strength,
those
yeah.
things.
Yes.
Any post-operative patients, we get them in when the surgeon wants them to get in, but that just pushes the wait list
Even
Longer.
further back.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then,
Yeah, so then we decided to hire a couple PRN PTAs, and they have been helping us out 2 half days a week. So we have one who works Monday, Wednesdays, and one that works Tuesday, Thursdays. One of which we both worked with. She was PRN for the Fit and Wise in Bridgeport, so we knew her well. We knew she was a great therapist.
which was huge.
And so she thankfully was willing to come work and was excited about it. It was a God thing for her too, how it all worked out. And then the other is actually Taylor's sister-in-law, who also works PRN at the Fit and Wise in Decatur, I think.
Yeah, she was
And
at Peds for a while.
Yeah, she's just helping us out temporarily because she's going to have another baby soon.
Yeah.
But they've been
I
a
get
big
another
help.
niece.
They've been a
Yes.
big help with helping to try to get that wait list
Yes.
down a little bit.
Shout out Kara and Emily.
Yes,
you guys
thank
are
you,
amazing.
Kara and Emily.
Yes.
So what's been one of the biggest challenges? I won't say struggles, challenges in the first year.
Sanity. Definitely,
just-
yeah.
For me, dealing with the constant state of being overwhelmed
Yes.
and having so many different things to do and just learning how to prioritize, or I'm a big list person, so if I need to do it and I don't have time, I write it down on a list. I've converted Taylor
Thank
to
God.
the list method.
Oh, it's been so nice.
But I think and that, I would say that, and probably always feeling like I don't know if I'm doing things right, business-wise,
Mhm.
Yeah.
insurance-wise.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things, especially starting out, we've never done it before.
Mhm.
So we hope we're doing it correctly, and we try to do all the research we can, but that constant state of just not being sure if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing was quite stressful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I remember thinking a year ago, when we make it to our year mark, we'll be like, "Oh, okay, we know what we're doing." And I'm like, no.
So do you feel
still
like you-
No. I mean, I
know
definitely
a lot more.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I definitely
But-
feel like we have a much, like if I think about what my stresses were a year ago and the handle we have on those things now, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, we understand. I mean, as much as anyone can understand insurance, we understand insurance and billing. Like we had never done billing before, and so that was a crash course. Thank God our EMR has a really good person to help you get through that. But I mean, there was definitely some hurdles there trying to figure out, and you don't mess that stuff up. You got to figure it out. You got to do it right.
Yes.
And so, don't worry, anybody, we haven't messed up your insurance. We figured it out. I mean, but yeah, I guess I would say for me, the biggest hurdle has been mentally. Like, I definitely struggle with some anxiety, and so this has kind of really brought that to the surface. And trying to thank God for Morgan. That's another thing. That's why it's been a God thing, because she is somebody that is she just has such good mental strength and has really kind of just put her arm around me and like been like, okay, this is how we're going to tackle this. Like this is something we can do to help this. How can I help you carry the burdens that you're carrying? And so that was a huge struggle, just to try to figure out how to handle everything and not let it overwhelm me. And so I've come a long way, but I definitely have a long ways to go. So I feel like that was definitely my biggest.
Because when you open a business, it's really about the passion for what you're doing.
Absolutely.
It's not necessarily the passion, and you don't necessarily know all the business things that go along with it. It's not the passion for that.
No.
That's the stuff you have to
You have to
learn.
do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But helping others, and that passion is what keeps you going on a daily basis to
Yes.
Exactly.
help and rise those up. What have been some successes you've had this year? I mean, I would definitely say business growing in a small community.
Oh.
And how do you grow that business?
Oh, it has been.
Successes first. We'll go. What are some
Insane.
successes?
Okay.
Well, I'll say, I mean, we went to 2 doctor's offices.
And then we didn't have time to go to anymore.
Yes.
Which I guess is a good sign.
It's a good but we felt so bad because we had offices calling and being like, we want you to bring us script pads and we want you guys to come by and drop off cards. And it's like, okay, yes, we really want to do those things. We had a list of doctor's offices we were going to. And we literally made it to the clinic, the main clinic here in town, the Faith Rural Health Clinic, and we made it to the United Regional Group in town. And then it was just like the floodgates opened, and it just was like, okay. I mean, our front desk girl, Haley, bless her heart, had
dropped
to
some cards
take
off.
cards to
Yeah.
places because it was just like, it just kept rolling in, and we were like, okay, we just gotta
I know
keep
we kept
taking
thinking,
it.
okay, well maybe we'll have time to do it.
Yeah,
then.
it's gonna
And we
slow down
it
after the
kept
first
getting,
of the year.
Busier
No, it
and busier.
didn't.
So
Yeah, so that was a huge success because we didn't anticipate for that. Like we had prepared for it to be a much bigger battle to get people in because it's a small town. I mean, I knew the people were here because I remember when we closed the hospital, we discharged a lot of people. And so I knew the client base was here. It was just a matter of tapping into that and letting people know that because there's still people that have no idea that we're here. And so that just baffles me with how busy we are.
Yeah.
So I would say that's the biggest success for us is just.
I think, at least for me, I think you too, when we feel that there's been success is when someone comes here because they said, oh, well, so-and-so had therapy here and they really loved it.
Absolutely.
Or so-and-so said really good things. Like, that's when you feel like, okay,
we
we're
don't
making
suck.
a difference. Like, this is why we're here.
Uh-huh.
And we're succeeding at that. Obviously, all the glory goes to God.
100%.
But that's when we feel like, okay, this is good.
We're doing okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was huge.
And so really besides doctor's offices going to visit those couple, do you do much advertising or like in paper?
I mean, we did
Oh,
a couple.
Yeah, especially for our grand opening in August.
We did some for that, and then like the paper reached out for the chamber banquet, so we did their ad for that. But we don't have like a recurring ad in the paper, which we probably should. But it's almost at this point, it's like we need more staff.
I know. I would feel bad to advertise and then
tell people no.
Sorry, you can't come in for another month.
And then we got Cheer Synergy Shakers class, which
Yes.
was wonderful. So that was some good. And then we sponsored cheerleading and then like my daughter's basketball team. But besides that, I mean, not a whole lot. It's been word of mouth, which in Bowie, Texas, that's kind of the best thing is word of mouth. So we've really tried to invest our energy into that, into people, which that's what's most important to us. We want to be servants. So that's what we
And then
invested in.
interesting that when you start, you worry, is there going to be enough people to come? Is this going to work?
Yeah.
And then a year later, you have the opposite problem.
Yes.
Is you have growing pains because you have more people that want your services than you do staff. And I'm sure it's a challenge, especially in a rural community, to get that staff.
Very challenging.
been-
That has been another that's a good point. That's a really huge
That's
challenge.
been a challenge for
Yes.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had a position posted for a PTA, part-time to full-time, depending on patient volume. It's been posted for 3 weeks, maybe more. We've had one application. So it's going to be a struggle, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And the struggle sometimes is probably not only location, but some probably look at a year and they go, I don't know.
Yeah.
But when you see from where you started a year ago to part-time, to now full-time hiring more staff PRN, it's growing very quickly. And I agree, and I think our community, and our community is an older community. You work on all ages, but it's an older community, and those have a lot more needs.
Yeah.
And we speak about older, there's a lot that have surgery, but you just don't do just rehab. What's the importance of prehab? We talk so much about rehab and post-surgery, but what about prehab?
So important.
Yeah.
People don't realize when they go in for these joint replacements, and I've actually been shocked at the amount of surgeons who have really been like, oh, your knee's not strong enough, I won't replace it. And so they'll send them here, and I'm really appreciative of that because people don't realize the healthier your muscles are, the healthier your joints are. When you go in for that surgery, you're setting yourself up for success afterwards. You're going to heal so much faster. You got to think about a muscle that hasn't been used correctly for years, and then you come to therapy and your joint's correct, that muscle's got to wake back up. That sometimes takes a long time because that muscle has not been utilized in so long. So we educate our patients pretty regularly that, we're here to help you learn how to exercise on your own. Insurance companies don't pay for people to come here for a whole year. This is not personal training. Like we can't, as much as we would love for that to be that way, it's not. Your insurance doesn't pay for that. We have to push home exercise programs. So we, tell people like we are here to teach you the tools to do this on your own. We just are here to help you gain what you need, and then you got to go on your own. Go to the gym. Please join gyms. Please join activity classes because that is what's going to keep you going. That's what's going to keep your body healthy.
Yeah. We've had a lot of shoulders or knees where a lot of times the doctor will say, well, I want to do surgery, or they'll say, well, you can either try physical therapy or I can do surgery. And a lot of times the patient will say, well, no, like I want to try to avoid surgery if I can. And so there's been a lot of cases, we've had a few shoulders recently where the doctor said, well, I'd like to do surgery, and the patient says, well, no, I'd like to avoid it if I can, and so they come to us, and there's a lot of times when we can help eliminate the need for surgery. We can help to decrease that pain and improve their function, and get them back to doing the things they want to do without having to have surgery. So it's definitely, prehab is something that should be talked about more.
Absolutely.
We very much are huge supporters of that, and if someone comes to me and says, I'd like to do physical therapy so I don't have surgery, I just say, perfect, awesome, you're in the right place, let's do this.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
But you may
to
have
be
to wait a
able
month.
Yeah,
But you may have to wait a month.
We're working on that, I promise. We're trying.
But it's going to get better.
Yes.
It's not saying that to prevent people from doing
No.
it.
Right.
Because even if you have to wait a month, you're still going to be better off
Absolutely.
Right.
than
Absolutely.
not doing it at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we do have a new physical therapist
Oh, yes.
who she recently graduated from physical therapy school, and she's taking her boards in July, and then she's coming to work for us full time.
How exciting.
So that will help a
Yes,
lot.
we're super excited
Yes.
about her. She's
Yeah.
going to be a great
She's
addition.
excellent. And she's from here in Bowie.
She's a hometown
so
girl. Yeah.
We're really, really
We're
excited.
really
So that's very exciting.
Yes.
And so what type of, I'm sure people wonder, what type of insurance? Do you take all insurance? Do you take certain insurances, or is it they just come in and see and?
Well, and it's a complicated question. So we are contracted with Medicare, Aetna, Cigna, Humana,
Blue Cross
Blue Shield, and people ask because Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas, but if you have Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana, Illinois, it doesn't matter because we're contracted with Blue Cross Blue Shield. And then we are, what's it called? We are certified out of network with United Healthcare. So a lot of those United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plans, their in and out of network benefits are the same, so we can see them. And then some plans have out of network benefits that are the same, so we can always look that up for you. So if you're not sure, if we didn't mention the name of your insurance, but you want us to look, we will always look. And we'll let you know if it
And there
won't.
are some different strange little insurance companies that
Yes.
have a not very common name. A lot of times we can't take them, but every once in a while there is one that we can. So
We
like
always
she said,
call
just
and
make
ask.
sure
Yeah.
to ask us and we can look it up for
And
you.
we are now credentialed with
Yes.
TRICARE
TRICARE East.
East, whatever territory we're in.
TRICARE East.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
So that's a new one. We haven't even posted about that one yet. So
So you take a wide variety of insurances,
Yes.
and
Yes.
whether it's rehab, whether it's
prehab
prehab, all different types of
injuries
things and-
or non-injury pain.
Sprains, strains.
Yes, just
Pain,
balance
weakness.
deficits. That's what people don't realize. If you're falling, you need to be here because we need to prevent that from happening. Because that's how you're going to break something. That's how you're going to end up with have to have surgery because you've broken your femur. We help with all of those things. Yeah.
Looking back, is there anything that you would have done differently starting out?
That's a really good question.
Oh,
Make you think.
Should have prepared for that
yeah,
one.
as new business owners, 'cause I think we always have a great idea, and it's a good idea, and we just sometimes just go into it, and then we look back, oh, I probably should have done that just a little bit different. And it doesn't have to be necessarily, but I just wonder, because again, I think being in a small town, everybody comes in, they see everything, they say, oh, it looks nice, you have all this equipment, you just must be just doing great, but they forget about your building overhead, your employee, because growth and getting more employees is great, but now you have to
Costs a
have
lot.
payroll.
Yeah.
And then you have issues of, benefits, and then all these questions that come up, and then you have, because were either of you ever a manager or in charge of people? So not only do you have
Briefly. Yeah. No. Not
to,
very
not
much.
only do you have to learn the business, but now you have to learn how to be a manager.
Yeah.
And there's nobody that is teaching necessarily to how to be the most effective leader.
Yeah,
that-
I would have went to some SBA classes. I found that and I was like, dang, I should have totally signed up for some of those. MSU I think has them for free, and I'm like, dang, I should have totally went to some of that stuff because a lot of it was just grit work where you're just like literally just poring over articles trying to figure out what you need to do and asking questions of a million people, and when you probably could have gone to one place and they'd be like, here it is laid out for you.
Yeah, maybe some like business courses and insurance courses, billing
yes.
courses.
We've been so blessed by people to ask questions of those, though. I cannot even tell you. They've been so wonderful. Yeah, definitely that.
And I think that's important to be able to reach out to people
100%.
and ask.
We would have not made it this far
have a
without.
lot of good resources.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we could have done we did do smaller. Are you thinking that?
Same thing.
Smaller.
Business loan.
Yeah.
Ah.
So we got a small business loan through the SBA. And we, didn't know if we would start full-time right away or not. So we wanted to get a loan that could cover salaries before insurance started paying, because it takes about anywhere between 6 weeks to 3 months for the payments to start going through. So we kind of knew there would be a lag in payment for a while. So we got a loan to cover that just in case. Thank the Lord we haven't had to touch it once.
That's wonderful.
So it's been a huge blessing.
I would say that's a huge success too, because we totally thought that was going to be gone in no time.
Yes,
no, it's still sitting there, and so we definitely would have gone with a smaller one. Financially, it would have been
interest.
And in small business, I mean, that's a huge success.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know probably if the everyday average person that doesn't own a business, to not be able to not have to use that is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very commendable, and I mean, I would say that is definitely a God thing. That and when you go into it the right attitude, right spirit, it changes everything.
It does.
Because He does open the floodgates, and you're doing
yes, He does,
doing all those things. So how do people, how do they get a hold of you? How do they get a hold of Rise? Website, phone number? What's the best?
Yeah, we have a website. It has some information on there, kind of what we offer. It's www.risetherapytx.com. We also have an email address, which is just info at risetherapytx.com. And then our phone number is 940-242-4400. And so we try to always have someone here who will answer the phone. But if it is not answered, we do tend to get back to you within 24 hours. As long as it's not over the weekend. If it's a Friday, we'll get back to you on Monday. But we try to call back as quickly as we can.
And we have Facebook, too.
Yeah.
Rise Therapy Services on Facebook.
Or you can just come by.
Come by and
see the place.
So, and your hours are Monday through Friday?
Yes. We're Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5. Fridays, we're here 8 to noon, because the afternoons we utilize to catch up on everything from the week. So
we thought, and I will say, our voicemail says we're open from 8 to 5 on Friday. We just haven't wanted to give our afternoons up because we use them to do so much other managerial business things. So I will be changing the voicemail soon. But it's
to reflect 8 to noon, not.
Yes, but we're here in the office just from 8 to noon on Fridays.
So just a couple more questions, and think as for family, how has the business, Taylor, you're a mom.
Yes.
Morgan, you're not.
Not yet.
How does that affect a family being, guys, I would say, sometimes it doesn't affect it the same it does moms and wives. How has that affected, because I think it is a challenge.
It is.
Especially when you have spouses that work full time and you have kids. And
I'll say, my husband anybody that knows him, he is one of the biggest supporters that I've ever had. From the get-go, when I was at UNT getting my bachelor's degree, I was taking business management classes. And I had kind of pushed around the fact that I was going to open a business, but I didn't even know, but I had to write a business plan. And as soon as I had that written, he was like, open a business. And I'm just like, no. So, he's really been my biggest cheerleader. And, his schedule, he's a firefighter, so he works 1 on, 2 off. And he gives 150% to everything. And so
he's our maintenance man.
Yeah, he's our whatever we need man.
He's our errand runner.
Yes. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without him, because I already feel so much guilt because, my mental capacity, my physical capacity is at its max because I'm pouring everything I have into this. And he just really kind of meets that with so much grace, and has just taken over. I mean, he already carried so much of the responsibility, but he's just jumped in it, taken it with stride, and just has been huge help to me. And my daughter just loves it. She thinks it's amazing. She loves to come up here, and she thinks it's a big playground.
She wants to open her own business
Yes,
this summer.
she's opening a lemonade stand, so if anybody wants to buy lemonade, it'll probably be out here. So but that was so exciting to see my daughter tell, everybody that, oh, I want to open a lemonade stand. I want to own my own business like my mom. Like, that was huge, just to see that, okay, like she sees that I'm working for something. I'm not just taking away from her, and that as a mom is huge, because I want to drive into her that you can dream as big as you want. You can do whatever you want to do. It's going to take work. It's going to be hard. But as long as you have the drive to do it, you can do anything you want to do. And so that's amazing to see that she kind of picked up on that. And so
she loves coming here.
She really does. She loves it up here.
Yeah.
So has that guilt gotten better, has eased as the time goes on, or is that something you still struggle with?
I definitely still
struggle
struggle with it.
I think it's natural for.
It is. I definitely still struggle with it. I mean, there's definitely things that I miss out on that I'm not able to be there for, but I mean, she's got a talent show on Monday, and I just even mentioned that I got the text message, and Morgan was like, all right, let's look at the schedule. We're going to clear that spot. And I'm like, wait. Like, let's put the brakes on. Let me find out exactly what time I need to be there. And if I can make it work, I'll make it work. So that's been huge, is because that when we came into this, we knew.
That's why we did it.
Family is the most important thing. And so the goal is at some point that we'll both be able to, like, pull the reins back a little bit and be able to have that time with our family. But right now this is our baby.
Trenches.
We are in the trenches.
That's what we say.
Yeah. So definitely I still struggle with that guilt sometimes. It's definitely not gotten easier, but I feel like we're just taking it in stride, one day at a time. That's all you can do.
And how about for you, Morgan?
Yeah, so no kids yet for us.
Soon.
I think, yeah, maybe. But I think it has been difficult, because not only am I working full-time hours here and I'm mentally, physically exhausted by the end of the day, probably more so mentally from all the things that we're doing, but then I'm driving an hour home, and I think the drive honestly takes more out of me than anything. And so then by the time I get home, I'm really exhausted. And so I think that's been tough, because my husband is someone who likes to go and do things, and so there's times where I just don't have the energy, or I try to rally and drink some caffeine and then go play some tennis or something. But I think more than anything, the drive is what's been a challenge as far as that goes. I think there'll be days, even if I live closer, obviously, that I'd be still really exhausted by the end of the day. And not having as much time for things at home. Cooking, cleaning, groceries, laundry, all the fun things. So, but in my mind, our goal doing this is that eventually, we don't know when, but hopefully eventually, it will all pay off, and we will be able to have more time with our families and our kids and whatever we want to do. It'll give us the flexibility that we're hoping for. So I think that mentality has been beneficial for me, even when I'm exhausted, of this hopefully won't be forever, and it's for a specific purpose. But it's definitely been hard. I think it's not as hard. I don't have as many things going on. I don't have kids' activities and things like that. So it's been a little simpler in that regard. But it definitely does drain you, and you're probably not as fun of a person when you get home as you would have been otherwise.
I'm definitely not.
Yeah, well, I'm not either.
Fridays I'm much better.
Because probably differently from being an employee.
Yes.
You go home, you're physical tired.
Yeah.
But when you're an owner, and you're still doing the same work you did as an employee, but now you're physically and then you're mentally exhausted.
It just never
It's all
shuts
the
off.
extra work.
Like, I think we try really hard to, when we're not here, we try to turn it off. And it's just hard. You can't. There's always something that you're like, oh gosh, I need to do this.
Yeah.
Your to-do list is just ever growing.
I think more the last couple months, it's been a priority for us to try to
check out.
do enough here that when we're home on the weekends, we really don't have to do work things.
Yeah.
And I think that's been really helpful.
It has 100%.
Because then it's not, well, okay, we're going to meet on Sunday and we're going to do this and we're going to talk about this. It's like, no, the weekends are the weekends, and then we'll do the work when we come back on Monday. I think that's been helpful as well.
Because, I mean, I think at the beginning, everything has a sense of urgency, where it's like you just feel like you can't wait to do anything. Like, you just have to get it done right then. And now we're kind of getting in the groove of, like, okay, this is urgent, this is not urgent. Like, we have to prioritize because there are so many things, and we still need that family time. So it's gotten a little better.
Yes. We're working on it.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
And it will be. I mean, for however long we exist, probably.
And you learn your business, you learn what works, what doesn't work. But in the beginning, let's do everything, and we gotta. Yeah, it's different. But when you have like you said, Morgan, when you have a goal, and it makes the work you're doing now, and the long hours, and some of the sacrifices you make, it makes it worth it, because you know in the long run, it's gonna be better for not only the community but your families.
Absolutely.
And your staff and everybody. It's gonna be better by putting the time in now.
Yeah.
So just to finish up, I always ask everybody, what makes you call this my hometown? And I've had guests in the past that say, well, we're not from here, so we can't really call it my hometown. But I think in a small community, when you invest your dollars to open a business, and then not only do you invest your dollars, but you invest your time and energy in the people that come into your business, it is now your hometown, because you're making connections with those. And Morgan, in the future, you're going to might want to move closer, may not move to Bowie, but might move closer. But this is your hometown, and people know you as being here in Bowie. So what makes it, might be easier for Taylor, so I'll let Taylor go first, then why give you time to think, Morgan. What makes you call Bowie my hometown?
I mean, since Bowie Memorial Hospital closed, it has been my goal in one way or another to be back here. That has been my driving force. Like, I loved working here. You know, some people are like, I hate going to Walmart because I hate running into people that I know. And I mean, I hate going to Walmart, but that's not why. But I just love the community we have here. Like, when I'm talking about, you know, how I want to make time for family and things like that, I can remember one day specifically that I was in here, and I can't remember exactly what had happened, but my daughter was at school and something had happened, and I needed to go and get her. And I had my hands on a patient. I was working on them, and I saw the text come through, and I kind of was like, oh, and I said, hey, Morgan, so-and-so happened. Like, I'm gonna have to at some point, you know, figure out either who's gonna go get her or I'm gonna have to go get her. And the patient I was working on was like, go. Like, why are you still here? Go. And I was like, well, I need to finish. And she's like, I'm fine. You need to go. That comes first. And like, you know, I think we're so much harder on ourselves sometimes than our patients are, because, I mean, these people truly, for the most part, I mean, I think there are probably a few that don't love us, but for the most part, they just generally love people. And they're here. I mean, they know that we're here for them, but they're also here for us. You know what I mean? Like, and that was huge for me, just to have somebody to just be like, no, I'm okay. You stop what you're doing and you go take care of that. I'm fine. I will see you next time. So that was really humbling to me, just to know that, you know, I'm just not providing a service to them and they're just taking, but they also are giving something to me in a way of just like showing me love and showing us love, showing our business love, and that they're here for us. And the support, I mean, just the outpouring of support that we've had from the get-go, I mean, you don't find that anywhere else. You just don't. I you know, I thought when I graduated high school we'd be out of here, but I love this town. We didn't go anywhere.
Now you're here.
We're here.
You're planted.
We're planted.
Morgan, what about?
I think for me it's similar to what she was saying. Like, the first thing that popped into my head when you said that was the people. I think the people are what make anything feel like a home, no matter where you are. So I think the connections that we've made and the kindness that's been shown to us and the support, and people going out of their way to do things for us or share about us to their friends or whatever it may be, it's just been very overwhelming. It's not something that you see that often in a lot of communities. and we've just felt very just taken care of, loved, and supported with everything. And I think that even, you know, with the Chamber of Commerce, very supportive, helped us get going, helped us to know how to do a grand opening. But then for the majority of our patients, they just have such genuine care and love for us, and it's just so evident. And so for me, like, that's what makes Bowie feel like a home, because there's people here who love us and support us and are behind us with everything that we're doing.
Yes. And that's, you can't buy that.
No.
You can't.
It's so humbling.
I mean, we have
It's so
people
humbling.
bring it, I mean, just stop by just to give us coffee, or
Yeah.
just to come by and say hi. I mean, people that we've discharged months ago, they still pop in and just say, I just wanted to come by and say hi and check on you. I mean, that, and we love that. We truly enjoy that. They still want to come see us, or they'll be sad that it's on their last day because they like coming. They love the conversation, and we joke that it's a coffee shop because everybody who's here ends up becoming friends because we're all just conversating and laughing, and I mean, they just make it so enjoyable. It's
And
what keeps us
sometimes
going.
physical therapy is not always super enjoyable.
No,
But we
it
try
is
to
not.
do the best we can to make it as fun as we can.
And so even when they get discharged, their insurance says you're done with your visits, they can still come by and visit
yeah.
and
100%.
We love it.
have some coffee and
Yeah.
see you and
Yes.
and chat and
Always.
and that's what family does.
Yes.
And that's what a community does.
Absolutely.
Just
We love it.
check in on you and see. Just missed seeing you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, thank you, Morgan and Taylor, for visiting with me today, sharing
you.
about Rise Physical Therapy. I think it's a great addition to our community. I think our community it needed it. It's definitely a need for our community, and you filled that need. And I think when we fill a need that God's put in our heart, that we get overflowing from that.
Absolutely.
More than we can handle, as
Yes.
you've seen in the recent months.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be great to continue to grow. But
Thank you. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thank you
asking
so
us to be
much.
here.
You're welcome.
We're honored for
So-
sure. It's been
so,
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for both of you. And and I'll put in the show notes that where they can find you on your website, phone numbers, all that fun stuff. And then we'll just refer to Morgan. It's Morgan, not Dr.
Yes,
Morgan.
just Morgan.
So thank you. And thank you to each of you for joining us today on My Hometown. I look forward to seeing you around my hometown.